Okay.
The pressure's on, though.
Thought, comment, question.
The question's about managing up and helping your, who you're working for, your supervisor, give you what you need, those kinds of things, etc.
I want to give you another book because that is the single most frequently asked question at this point. And in fact, because of that, the book that I'm writing right now is called It's Okay to Manage Your Boss. And it comes out in August. And that's, and if you want to know the short answer, there's a very short answer on page, I think it's 184. Yeah, 184, How to Manage Your Boss. If you want a more extensive response, send me an email and I will send you an article that answers that. But the short version is, look, if your boss isn't having one-on-ones with you, then you got to try to have one-on-ones with your boss. If your boss isn't talking to you in a clear, direct way, you got to try to get the clear, direct scoop from your boss. No, tell me, I can take it. No, really, tell me, I can take it. I promise not to cry. If your boss isn't giving you clear expectations, you need to say, well, how about if I go back and make a little plan for this task, and then I'll run it by you, and you could let me know if that's okay. Or if your boss is unwilling to give you a deadline, you need to say something like, oh, well, how about Thursday at 2? No, Thursday at 2 won't do. Now we're getting somewhere. How about Wednesday at 2? Tuesday, right? So you need to do some of the work of handling this side of the relationship. My view is that it's the boss's job to do the work of managing, but it's your career. So if your boss isn't doing that work, you need to take some responsibility for that part of the relationship, and you need to try to do your part. There's 4 things. Look, every manager has his or her own style. There's 4 things that you absolutely need to get from your boss. First thing, clear expectations, clear expectations, clear expectations. Spell it out, break it down, tell me exactly what's up to me and exactly what's not. The second thing you absolutely need to get from your boss is either an inventory of the resources that are necessary and a check that we got those resources, or a recognition that we don't have the resources we need to do this, so there's going to be some workarounds here. The third thing you absolutely need is a detailed contemporaneous record that tracks your performance. And if your boss isn't doing that, then you got to track it. And it's not enough to just have the measurements that spit out on a computer that are easy to keep track of. You got to have a record of your concrete actions. The concrete actions you can control. And those they're not always easy to track. And if your boss isn't doing that for you, you got to do that for yourself. And the fourth thing you need is appropriate credit and rewards. You need to know, hey, if I want A, is there any way I'm going to get that here? If I want B, is there any way I'm going to get to bring my dog? Because sometimes the answer is, that's not going to happen here. Right? You're just never going to bring your dog here. This is a restaurant, and we're just not allowed to have your dog here, whatever it is. What could I get? Money? Could I get some money? Right? How about some control over my own schedule? And you need to have a sense of the quid pro quo. And you need to have that clear with your boss. What do I need to do to earn the things that I want? So you need to get that stuff from your boss. And if your boss isn't doing the hard work of managing, then you have to do the hard work of managing your boss. And it's not enough to say, all the books that are out there about, the reason I decided to write this book is because all the books that are out there about managing your boss are either, bless you, attach your wagon to that star, and as the boss rises, you'll rise. The reality is that most reporting relationships are moving targets, right? And often you answer to multiple people, and it's shifting on every day, and right. The second kind of managing up books are the kind where you try to strip mine the relationship for every resource you can get your hands on. Just try to squeeze as much out of them as you can. But that doesn't work either. What you need is an approach to managing your bosses, because you probably have multiple bosses. And you need an approach to piloting yourself through these multiple shifting supervisory relationships. And you need to have an MO for dealing with each boss. But if you're really interested in that, send me an email and I'll send you the article, which is the basis of the book. Okay, someone else. Yes, you get a book. It's called Not Everyone Gets a Trophy. Yes, sir.
How do you walk the line between empowerment and telling everybody how to do their job?
So use the word. Strong management versus when does it get too far? It becomes micromanagement? Is that?
Right.
Yeah. The reason I wanted you to say that is
taking away the empowerment we're supposed to be giving.
yeah. I often say, ding, 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 you've asked the micromanagement question, but I realize I filled in that word for you. Look, it's different for every person. Some people need to be managed very, very closely. Every person's different. I think most instances that look like micromanagement are actually undermanagement in disguise. Let me give you an example. Here's an example. This is a person who can't make a move without checking with his or her boss. Can't make a decision, can't take an action. Is that person being micromanaged? I don't think so. I think that person's being undermanaged. Because if you want that person to be able to make decisions and take action, you need to tell that person, if A happens, you do B. If C happens, you do D. If E happens, you do F. If G happens, you do H. Are you with me? Are you sure? Now you have power to make decisions and take actions. See, the problem there is that there wasn't enough management up front. How about the manager who says, hey, take a crack at it, and then comes along a few hours or a few days later and is like, what are you doing? Here, move over, let me show you. You know what, I'll just take it back to my office and do it. That's not micromanagement, that's undermanagement, because the manager didn't spell out in advance, here are the goals, here are the guidelines and parameters, here's the timeline. Let's have regular schedule to check in and see where you are. Now, sometimes the manager is looking over the shoulder, every step of the way, too much. And if that's the case, sometimes it's a case of obsessive-compulsive disorder. That's not a management problem, that's a medical problem. You need to get that person some tablets. Sometimes what it is that it's too much because the manager's trying to teach. And then, okay, well, you need to recognize that what's going on there is teaching. Sometimes it's because the manager doesn't trust this person. Sometimes when managers don't trust, it's because they think delegation is about letting go. If you think delegation is about letting go, you should be afraid. Delegation is not about letting go. It's about getting work done through other people. And that requires the hard work of a manager. See, if you want to give somebody power, it's the same formula. It's always the same formula. Real empowerment is actually a very boring art. You give somebody a goal, you give them a deadline, maybe you give them benchmarks along the way, you spell out all the guidelines and parameters. In here, you got power. It may be limited power, but at least it's real power. The only question is, with this person on this day, with this task, how big should the goal be? How far out should the benchmarks be? And how much do you have to spell out the guidelines? And what most managers do is they make them too big. See, you got to start small. Give somebody a small goal or a small constellation of goals. Narrow benchmarks on the timeline. Spell out all the guidelines. If the person delivers, then good news, you can give them more responsibility. Spell out the guidelines. Give them a clear timeline. If the person delivers, give them more. We call those the circles of real empowerment. And this is what development looks like. This is the hard work of development. And what most managers do is they start way out here. Something goes wrong, they rush into here. And then they go back out. Okay, now I'm going to be hands off again until something goes terribly wrong. But see, the right way to do it is you start small and you give somebody more and more and more. By the way, if the person slows down, shrink the circle. The person stops dotting I's and crossing T's, shrink the circle. If you give the person a brand new task that's unfamiliar, shrink the circle. And this is, we call that real empowerment. So the question is, how much feedback and direction does this person need on this task at this time? And it's different with every person. And that's why, look, how would you possibly know that without having lots of one-on-ones about the work with that person? So it's a moving target. And by the way, you want to be the instrument of expanding that circle. You want to be, good news. I'm going to get you to a point where you can handle more responsibility. We start out every day, then we go every other day, then every third day. Is that?
I definitely like that.
Okay. Does that help a little bit? Thank you. Yeah. We sometimes call it the school teacher rule. Anyone here ever teach school? So if you ever taught school, there's a golden rule in school teaching, right? You're really strict on day one, right? And then you don't ever have to be strict again because everyone thinks, oh yeah, he's really strict. So it's a little bit of a variation on that. But start with small, give people a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And then each person will sort of ultimately get to their appropriate sphere of responsibility. A little bit.